to the Mind Talk Show. My name is Lynn. I am a mental wellness coach. The channel is revolved around what I like doing. I like helping people achieve their mental health in order for them to achieve what they want to achieve in life. I also advocate for a whole person, that is mentally, spiritually, socially, and physically. A whole person matters to me. Your mental health also matters a lot to me. In today's video, I am going to help you know more about trauma. Now that we have people who are experiencing trauma, that is from what has happened at the forest of Shakahola. There is a lot of trauma going on. There are a lot of people who are involved in various types of trauma, which I want to look at today. For those people who are returning, thank you so much for the support. And for those people who are new, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now, what is trauma? In simple terms, trauma is a person's emotional response to a distressing experience. That is trauma. It involves your heart and also your mind. Remember that. And also, traumatic events tend to be sudden. It's not something that is planned for. It is sudden and of course unpredictable. Things like, let's say, natural disaster, they are unpredictable. You can't predict when a fire will strike. You can't predict when there is an earthquake, okay? Now, each and every person, in one time or another, we have experienced trauma in different categories, in different ways, okay? So trauma is not meant for one person, and there are other people who believe that trauma is associated with children, that those children who have been exposed to trauma, they can't do well in life. But that is untrue, because each and every person has been exposed to trauma. We are vulnerable. Remember, trauma affects every aspect of us, okay? Every aspect of us. That means each and every experience might give us trauma in one way or another. I'm trying to imagine when we grew up, our parents were very, very strict in so many ways. For example, you could come home with marks or with results that was not pleasing. The parent, especially if he is a drunkard, he will judge you, he will shout at you, he will yell at you, and you know what develops out of that? You get traumatized. You get trauma. So, and remember, childhood trauma affects their life, even adulthood, until they are adults. That is trauma. Now, there are some situations that leads to traumatic events. These are natural disasters. I've talked about them. That is earthquakes, fires, tornadoes, and also hurricanes. There are also interpersonal violences, like, for example, rape, child abuse. We have suicide of a loved one. If you experience all these, you are likely to end up in trauma. There is also involvement in a serious car accident. This will also result into trauma. If you're involved, or workplace accidents can also result into trauma. We also have acts of violences. For example, you have experienced robbery. You have also experienced wars, terrorism. You have experienced all this. You are likely to end up in trauma. If also you have experienced a breakup or divorce of maybe parents, or yourself, you have undergone breakup or divorce or separation, you are likely to also go into trauma. If you have a fall and you retained a serious injury from sports. Remember, there are people who love sports. You are also likely to have trauma. If you are also there is sudden unexpected death in the family, it will traumatize you, especially during that time you're grieving. There is also diagnosis of a life-threatening illness. For example, you've been told that maybe your loved one maybe has cancer. This will traumatize you. There is also one more. When you have a mentally ill person in the family, it will traumatize both of you. All of you. You will be in a traumatized position. All these are causes of trauma, or some situations that can lead into trauma. So if you go, or if you undergone any of these situations, you're likely to end up in trauma. Remember, trauma varies from one person to another. The trauma that one person has is not the same as the other person's trauma. So people react to trauma differently. We need to realize that. We need to put that straight, that people are different. As it is in genetic makeup, we also react differently to trauma or traumatic events. Remember that. So don't expect someone's reaction to trauma be the same as the other person. People are very different. Okay? Okay, we are good. Now, I want us to look at types of trauma, whereby there is acute trauma. This one reflects intense distress in the immediate aftermath of an event. For example, it's an accident which has happened. Immediately after the accident, you will have acute trauma. It's not that big. And also there are things like, if you have gone through sexual assault, you will also have this kind of trauma. If also you have experienced death, you have seen someone dying in your family, you will have this kind of trauma. Also, I've talked about accident, that is car crash. You will also have this kind of trauma. So acute trauma. We also have chronic trauma, which arises from harmful events that are repeatedly, or they are prolonged. Like, for example, bullying. If bullying is prolonged, this person is likely to end up into this kind of trauma. Okay? There is also domestic violence. If this person has seen people fighting, there is also neglect. If children are neglected, they are likely to end up into this kind of trauma. Another one is complex trauma. Arises from experiencing repeatedly multiple traumatic events. You've seen multiple of them, not one, not two. There are multiple of them. You are likely to end up having this complex trauma. There is also secondary trauma. These arise from exposure to the other person's suffering. For example, people in Shakahola Forest, the police who are exhuming the bodies, and those particular people who are exhuming the body, the police, that is security. Every person who is there, who are seeing the way the events are going, they are going through this kind of trauma. That is secondary trauma. Remember, it affects mostly professionals who are there to help. Okay? There is also adverse childhood experiences. That is ACE. It covers a wide range of difficulties, situations that children either directly face or witnesses. Disrupt the normal course of development in children, remember? And this can be maybe from the loss of a parent, from neglect, abuse, divorce. If children have seen you parents fighting over divorce, separation, and all that, they will have this kind of trauma, adverse childhood experiences. Now, I want us to look at the common reactions to trauma. People react differently, as I've said, to different kind of traumas. So there are people who will feel distant. They don't want to interact with other people because of the heaviness of the the accident or any kind of trauma that they faced. There are the people who are unable to concentrate because, you know, this is an act of the brain, and that particular time your concentration will be very low. There are physical reactions. I want us to look at physical reaction, and later we look at emotional reactions. Physical reactions, you will see things like stomach upset and trouble eating. You will not have appetite most of the time. There is also rapid breathing. Your heart will be racing so fast. There is sweating, especially immediately after the event has taken place. You will sweat. You will have, of course, trouble in sleeping because of that memory coming, flashbacks, you know. You will also have severe headache when thinking of the event, of that thing that has happened to you. You will have a lot of headache. There are people who smoke a lot. There are people who drink a lot of alcohol, or they use drugs. So there are those category of people. On emotional reactions to trauma, we have, you will feel nervous, helpless, fearful, and very sad. You will also feel shocked. Remember, shock and denial are symptoms of trauma. You will feel numb. You will also not be able to feel loved. You will see that people don't love you. They don't take you the way you are. There is also feeling agitated. You are likely to blame yourself, especially if it's an accident and maybe in one way or another you were there or you participated. You will blame yourself. There is also unable to trust other people. This one is a very common character. It's a very common behavior for people who have gone through a traumatic event. They will feel unsafe. They will feel insecure when they are with other people. Now, I want us to look at how you can manage trauma, because now you're in trauma. You have trauma. You are traumatized. You have been living in this for a long time. Now, how are you able to manage? Number one, spend time with others to avoid withdrawal, to avoid isolation, to avoid being alone. So try to spend time with the rest. Try to work on your hobbies. If you like swimming, go swim. If you like dancing, dance. If you like singing, any hobby that you're good at. Another thing, communicate the experience. Talk about it. Remember, a problem that is talked about is half solved. So talk about it. If it's death, just try to tell people how it happened, what happened, and all that. It will help you. It will relieve the pain that you're feeling. Another thing, give yourself time, and also recognize that you cannot control everything. Remember, you cannot control everything. So there are things, you leave them the way they are. Another thing you do is find support group. There are support groups which can help you, come together and, internalize and also help you to release your trauma. There is also eat a balanced diet, do exercises, anything that you like, do it. And also have enough sleep. Those are remedies. There is also avoid major life decisions. Like, for example, you want to switch your career. You want to switch your career to another one. Don't make that decision at that particular point. And also avoid drinking, avoid smoking, avoid alcohol, drug use. Avoid it, because it will not do you any good. Now, for the people who have been living in trauma, all is not lost until it is over. So try to put yourself together. If you had a childhood trauma, try to go through. There are processes that you go through that will help you. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. There is hope. There is still hope. You can do something about it, so that you can, example, you can see a counselor, you can see a psychologist, you can also see any therapist who can be able to help you. And try to talk about it to your friends, to your family members. They will also be able to help you. Okay? This is what I had for today. And remember to check on the other person. Let us be friends of other people, because there are people who are going through trauma and they don't know what to do. Let us help them. And you can also reach out to me. Write on my email. I'll be able to help you. I'll be able to walk through the journey until you find yourself. For now, from me, bye bye.